Welcome to our latest episode of Tom Talks. Now, all of you are very used to tuning in to hear about the wonderful cars that we buy and sell. However, on this episode, we're going to feature something a little different, and in many ways, much more special. And that is this wonderful, best in the world helmet collection that I am surrounded by. Where do we start? Now, this really has been the collection that just keeps on giving. We have spent so long, sort of 8 or 9 months to date, continuously researching this collection, continuously researching every single helmet, and we've definitely spent more time on these helmets than we have on any car that we've ever procured in the past. And it's been so rewarding because you come across so much great material, and when we acquired this collection, we knew it was the best collection in the world, and we'll get to that a little later on after we've shared with you some of its amazing highlights. But a lot of the other helmets, we sort of took I don't want to say a gamble or a chance, but a gut feeling of, yes, I think this helmet is pretty special, and they've just become more and more special. We've found so many Grand Prix victories, they're all Grand Prix worn helmets, and then there's an exception of, there's a Barry Sheene helmet. So this is not one from the Formula One, but it's one from his 1978 season that he used throughout the 78 season. So much patina. When we've researched it and photo matched it, it's the helmet he wore from the British Grand Prix. You can actually still see the sticker on the back. A very famous Grand Prix in 78. He also won 2 Grand Prix that season in the helmet, and wore it throughout the season to come second in the championship. And then we look at this Bruno Giacomelli helmet. Now, this is something that gave me goosebumps about, because you look at the helmet and just look at the patina, look at all the chips. You see how much wear, and what you've got to remember is back in this period, this is a helmet that he would have used really throughout the season. It wasn't like modern contemporary Formula One racing today, where drivers have helmets, new helmets each race, and sometimes 2 and 3 helmets per weekend. But we were looking at this helmet and we could see how much patina it had. And then when we were looking inside it to find the Snell number, the Snell number is basically the chassis number of a helmet, we found an Italian prayer card. I feel really bad even taking this out and removing it today, but we found an Italian prayer card that we can only assume either him himself or somebody very dear to him gave him, with a blessing on there to keep him safe. And that gives you goosebumps, because you think, actually, back in that period, how dangerous was Formula One racing, and how fortunate were people to basically come out of it unscathed. But let's start even a little bit earlier. So here we have the John Surtees. Now, John Surtees is the only man to have ever won a world championship on 2 and 4 wheels. A real national treasure of the UK. And this is a helmet that he wore in his Ferrari championship winning season. And John Surtees, he probably only had 3 helmets, maybe 4 helmets throughout his whole career. You look at this helmet and you think, what has it done? We photo matched it to know that it definitely was involved in his 64 championship year. But then also so many other, John wasn't a bit like a modern contemporary Formula One driver. Back in that era, drivers would race GT racing as well as Formula One racing. And then we get onto some other helmets here. If we look through them, what have we got? We've got a Carlos Reutemann, we've got a David Coulthard helmet. This is Innes Island. great GT racing driver. This is also the helmet that he wore to his last 2 Formula One races. Then this helmet should really be, you know, we like to think we have a museum here, but it really should be in a very special museum. Jochen Rindt, the only posthumous Formula One world champion. This is a guy that I've read so much about. He was the absolute best of his era. He was the best driver of his day, and he won 6 Grand Prix. Now, of his 6 Grand Prix victories, he wore this particular helmet to 5 of those 6 wins, which is incredible. And what's been so good is we've been able to photo match it, and we photo matched, you know, the small parts of damage, the patina, the wear that's on the helmet that's still evident today. And I think that's so special. We even have his goggles that go with the helmet. That for me is one of the most valuable helmets in the world today. So we felt really fortunate to be able to acquire this as part of the collection. Ronnie Peterson, who doesn't love Ronnie Peterson? And don't you love the design of the helmets back then? The polar caravans. And then here we have Helmet Marco. I sent a photo of this helmet recently, actually, to Christian Horner, which I think he was sharing with Helmet. And you know, again, Helmet would not have had many helmets throughout his career. We are still researching this helmet, as we are wondering if this is the actual helmet that he lost his eye with, because you can see the visor has been replaced at some point. And if you look at the actual helmet on the internet today, the damaged helmet where he had the accident, you will see it's absolutely identical to this. So we've still got some more research to do on this particular helmet. We have a real James Hunt helmet. We have Niki Lauda. Lauda's helmet here is fantastic. This is the helmet that when he first retired from Formula One, and he famously told Bernie, he ripped the contract up that he had just signed for Bernie, I think was about £2 million a year back in 1979. And he went out to test, I think it was in Canada, in practice, and he came in and he said, I don't want to do it anymore. And this is the helmet he was wearing at that time, and this is also the helmet that he won the 1979 BMW M1 Pro Car Championship in. He wore throughout the season, with all those victories, was in this particular helmet. Moving on, and you know, there's lots of helmets here that are definitely not less special, but there's 112 helmets, and it's hard to know where to start and where to stop. But how cool is this? So this is nicknamed the Star Wars helmet. The year it came out is the year that the Star Wars, the film, came out, and Mario Andretti, this was the helmet that he wore when he was Formula One world champion. Look at the wear on it, look at the patina. And Simpson came out with this design, and I believe the design only lasted for 1 year, and this is the only Star Wars style helmet that Andretti ever wore. Let's see what else we've got here. Nelson Piquet. Now, Nelson Piquet's helmet, he won the German Grand Prix and came second at the British Grand Prix in this helmet. I want to show you something. Inside the helmet, we still have his balaclava that you can see probably straight after the race. He is handed this helmet as a gift, and its balaclava. Nothing has been disconnected from the helmet. It is exactly as it was when he last raced in it, which was that victory in Germany. So that's and Nelson Piquet, you know, for me, I think was a phenomenal driver, a Formula One world champion, a real legend of the sport. René Arnoux, So the Rene new helmet, very simple by design actually, but I think a really nice, a really good looking helmet. I love the font of his name on the side. And this helmet is a helmet that he wore to all of his victories with Ferrari. It's a Ferrari Rene new helmet, and to every victory he had with Ferrari, he was wearing that particular helmet. Just going back to Lauda actually, something I want to share with you all, which we found out, which we've learnt, that Lauda, this halo design, he was the first, this helmet was the first helmet that had this halo design on it, and this halo design is what you now see on helmets ever since, where the sponsorship is added to it. It all came from Lauda, from this design. So many other great helmets. We've got Juan Pablo Montoya, his Silverstone 2005, I think it was, Grand Prix winning helmet. We've got a Hans Stuck helmet, you know, Mika Hakkinen. This is a really special corner. We have Alain Prost. So this is a Grand Prix winning helmet. He won a couple of Grand Prix in this helmet, and this is unique in its configuration. It was worn in the 1982 season. It's very easy to identify today because of these cutout air vents that haven't really been done very tastefully, but was done in period because that's just the way it was. You think, Alain Prost, what a legend he is, and he wore this helmet to multiple Grand Prix victories. And then it's unbelievable to believe that these people, these heroes didn't hold on to these helmets. But back in those days, what we have to appreciate, and people like Lewis today, he holds on to most of his helmets, apart from two that we have here that we're going to get around to in a moment. But otherwise, he doesn't give his helmets out to anybody. Sebastian Vettel, I think there's only 4 of his helmets out in public circulation, and we've sold 2 of those helmets for him for charity. But otherwise, these modern drivers, a lot of the time they will keep all of their helmets because they understand and know the value of them. But back in this period, the helmets weren't worth that much, and they just thought that actually, you know, they wanted to give it to somebody as a gift, but probably gave it to somebody that was special to them. Now, Gilles Villeneuve, a bit like a Jochen Rindt, what a legend, I want to say myth of a man, but what a legend of a guy, a handsome looking man, a Ferrari works driver, had the world at his feet, and it was cut short way too soon. And in Bahrain this year, I met up with Jacques, his son Jacques Villeneuve, and I had told him that we have this helmet, and he couldn't believe it. He asked to see photos, and he said of his family, they only have one of Gilles' helmets. And he said that he didn't have many helmets throughout his career. And he was asking, he said, where did you get this from? And it's unbelievable. And, you know, this is a helmet from his time at Ferrari. So to have a Ferrari Gilles Villeneuve helmet is very special to me. Lewis Hamilton, this is a Grand Prix winning Lewis Hamilton helmet from his 2007, his first year in Formula One. This is a helmet that he wore to the Belgium, I want to say, to his victory in Spa in 2007. Then we also have another Lewis Hamilton helmet that he came 3rd in at the British Grand Prix in 2010. But the highlight of the whole collection for me, and this is what I am certain has to be the most valuable helmet in the whole world, and I was so excited. All this collection, the 112 helmets, basically, we acquired them because we really wanted one particular helmet, and that is this. This is the Ayrton Senna Donington winning helmet. If you're not familiar with Ayrton Senna, then you shouldn't actually be watching this video anyway, just to be clear. And if you're not familiar with his Donington win, then you need to just type in some keywords into Google, something like lap of the god, or the greatest lap in history, or maybe the greatest win in victory, the greatest win in history. I'm so excited I can't even get my words out. Ayrton that day absolutely schooled the field. Alain Prost, who was in an FW15C like we have here. This is the car, actually, this particular car Hill drove, and he came second to Senna that day in that car. So he actually got to see the back of this helmet for a lot of the race, to be honest. Although Ayrton was so far in front, it might have been after he lapped the field once or twice. But Ayrton Senna that day absolutely destroyed the field. And Ayrton Senna helmets, we've sold another original Ayrton Senna helmet recently, and they sell for an insane amount of money, any original Ayrton Senna helmet, because there are so many replica Senna helmets in the world, and when you come across an original one, and one that can be undisputed as being original, then they're very valuable. But all of his helmets, there was so much crossover that they all had the same design. So is it possible to absolutely identify which race he wore that helmet to? Well, in some instances, like the helmet we sold recently, no, it isn't. What makes this helmet absolutely unique and easily identifiable, so not only can we boast that it is the Donington, by the way, to pick this helmet up compared to the others is so much lighter. Not only can we boast that this is the Donington winning helmet, but it's absolutely unique in design. Unique in design by way of that year there was a tobacco ban in a couple of races of the season, so there was no Marlboro like you would see in most of his other races. There was no air vents, which was later introduced. I think it was either the next race after Donington or the race following that. And then in the early part of the season, because Donington was a very early race, I think it was either the third or fourth race on the calendar in '93, he fell out with the actual helmet supplier and sponsor. So in the '92 season, he had another sponsor behind the Boss logo. And in the first couple of races of the season, he used the helmets from '92, but that was covered over with yellow sticky tape. Then he got to Donington and he got a whole new fresh design. And then following Donington, every other helmet of the season changed. So you either had the Marlboro logo or you had the air vents on. A couple of other little telltale facts that I know helmet historians won't like me, or helmet dealers won't like me sharing with you today, but we are here to share the knowledge. We love to share the knowledge. And if you ever come across a Senna helmet and want to know if it's a real Senna helmet, now all of his helmets was numbered on the back. So you'll see here number 16, they were all numbered. And Senna actually had a particularly big nose. He was a handsome man, but he had a slightly large nose, and he requested from the helmet manufacturer cut out a part of the interior trim. So all of his original helmets, you will see, has a little bit extra space for his snout. So this helmet for me is incredibly special. It's not just incredibly special amongst this wonderful collection, but it's incredibly special just as a piece of automobilia, as a piece of memorabilia, as a piece of Ayrton Senna memorabilia, as a piece of Formula One memorabilia. You know, if Tom Brady's jersey sells for $2 million, or Michael Jordan's jersey, I think once sold for $10 million, how much does it make that helmet worth? He wore that helmet throughout that famous victory in Donington. You know, wore that helmet to something that, a piece of history, Formula One history, and here it is with us today. So I am so pleased to have that helmet. Other great helmets, I'm not even sure I'm not even sure where we go after that one, to be honest. We did recently add this wonderful Graham Hill helmet. Graham Hill, Formula One world champion, obviously father and son, Graham and Damon, both Formula One world champions. This is a helmet that the family decided to sell recently, and since purchasing it, we have proved that it was the helmet he wore to his Le Mans victory. So it's a Le Mans winning helmet, and it's also the helmet that was placed on top of his coffin at his funeral. So it's a real special piece of English Formula One, British Formula One history. Very, very special helmet as part of the collection. And we could spend hours, days, weeks, months going through each one of these helmets, sharing with you how special they are, sharing with you the history of each individual helmet. But I hope you've got a good feeling for it all today. I hope you've got a good understanding and you've enjoyed the episode. And you know, we have really enjoyed acquiring this collection, and we've enjoyed further exploring and researching the collection. It's been very rewarding, and for us, you know, there is crossover in maybe the helmets and the cars that we buy and sell. They're all from the automobile world and they're all very collectible, but I tell you, this has opened the doors to us for something else. You know, we feel way more knowledgeable when we look at any helmets in the future, and we definitely want to trade in them a lot more. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and now I'm back to my research.